Good morning, children. We have studied about nested list and copying list. Now let us see the next topic, that is built-in functions. So Python offers several built-in functions to perform various operations on list. So there are functions which are present in the Python library. So let us see what are these functions. First one is append, then insert, then extend, then index, remove, sort, reverse. So these are the append, insert, extend, index, remove, sort, reverse. So these are the different built-in functions of Python that these functions can be applied in list. So let us see the first type of built-in function. They are append function. So append method adds a single item to the end of the list. So if we want to add an element to the end of the list, then we can use append function. If we want to add an element at the end of the list, we can use append function. It doesn't create a new list, but it modifies the original list. This append function do not create a new list. When an element is added to the end of the list, this append function does not create a new list, but in the same list a modification is performed. It modifies the original list. The single element can also be a list. The syntax of append function is list dot append. The parameter is item. List is the name of the list. Dot append. Since append is a function, the thing that is given inside the bracket of that function is called parameter. So the parameter given is item, what is to be appended at the end of the list. Now let us see the example how this append function works. So we have a list L1 is equal to, in square brackets, since it is a list, it is given in square brackets 10, 30, 40. Then L1 dot append in bracket 55. We are adding an element 55 at the end of the list. So append 55. Then when we print L1 list 1, you can see the output obtained is like this. In the list above, only 4 elements were there, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Now after appending, after the append function is applied, you can see 55 is appended at the end of the list. This append function will add an element at the end of the list. A list can also be added to the above existing list. So in an append function, we can add a list also. Then the modified list will be a nested list, like this way. So L1 is our old list containing values 10, 20, 30, 40, and we can add a list using append function to an existing list. For that we have to write L1, that is our list, name of the list, dot append, then as a parameter the item. So the parameter is a list containing two values 50, 60. So when we print L1, you can see 10, 20, 30, 40, comma, then again a list is there 50, 60. Again a list is added 50, 60. So using append function, we can add an element or a list itself to a list, and append function adds an element at the end of the list. Now let us see another example. The previous example was about integers. Now let us see strings. An example of string. So we have color. The name of the list is color equal to red, green, blue. Since these colors are strings, it is always enclosed in single quotes. So red, green, blue is enclosed in single quotes. Then color dot append in bracket white. We are adding a new color to the list color. So color dot append in bracket white. So when we print the list color, you can see the rest of the elements are at the same position itself, but a new element is added at the end of the list. So red, green, blue, and at the end of the list white is also added. So append function adds an element at the end of the list. So let us see the application of append function. For that, we have a program, write a program to find the second largest element in a list num. So there is a list called num. In that, we have to find the second largest element. So no need of writing this much big program. We can write a small program to find the second largest element in a list. So let us see the program to find the second largest element in a list. Okay children, let us see the program for finding the second largest number. So we should have to find the second largest number in a list. We should have a list and we have to apply the append function so that we can add the values at runtime. That is, while running the program, we have to add the values. So we can first, we should have a list. We should have a list, and in that list we have to add the elements at runtime. So let us see the program. So first we have to decide what is the size of the list. How many elements are present in that list? That is, how many elements are to be added into this list. So let us take that as n. Let n be the number of elements to be present in the list. So n is equal to, we have to enter the number of elements in that list. So n is equal to int input enter the elements. Int input enter the elements, then close all the brackets that we have opened. This input function will enter the number of elements. So enter the number of elements present in the list. So input function will take the input as a number, that is how many elements are present in the list, and that number, that input value will be but taken by the input function in the form of string. So this string value is to be converted into integer value. For that we are using int, or we can use, instead of this, eval input, enter the number of elements. Then after getting the number of elements, we need a list, empty list. So I am giving the name for empty list as L is equal to square bracket open close. So this represents an empty list. Now we have to enter the elements. Now we have entered number of elements, then created a list. Now we have to enter the elements in that list. This is the count, number of elements in the list, and this empty list. So we can write just print single quotes, enter the elements, print enter the elements. Then we have to enter how many limit. If I am giving here 5, then there should be 5 elements in this list. If I am giving here 3, then only 3 elements should be there. So to enter that much elements, we should repeat some steps. So we have to use, for repetition we have to use iterative statement. So here we are using for loop. For I in range, the parameter of range function is n, because we have to iterate the loop how many times? N times, because n elements are there. Semicolon, colon, then some indentation is given. Then in the for loop we have to enter some values. So that value can be entered as, in the, I am giving the name as m. M is equal to int input. In the input I am not giving anything like this, because I don't want any prompt or anything to be printed. You will see what happens. Just I am giving input, bracket, nothing is given. Then close the bracket. Then we have the list L dot append in bracket m. What happens is, L is an empty list. We are entering a value m, value that is in the variable m. So append function will add the value m at the end of the list. Here this is empty list, so it will add in the L, first value will be the value assigned to m. It will be added. Then again the for loop will iterate, and again it will ask the user to enter the input. So again the user will enter the input, next number will be appended. So here the first value will be there, and comma, the next value will be appended. So like this happens how many times? Until what is the given value of n, that much time the for loop will iterate. After this iterates, just we have to see what is the for loop, what is the list printed. To display our list, we can write print inside the print statement, just to understand that it is the list. So in single quotes I will write the list is single quotes close, comma, then outside the single quotes separated by comma, I am giving the value L. So L is not enclosed in single quotes, so L is having a value. So the L is having a value. What is the value of L? L is a list containing certain elements. So print L will print the list. Now again, there is a function called sort. So we have to find out the second largest number. So we, in our list, the numbers are unsorted. It is in the form how we have entered the elements. The elements are not sorted. So it is difficult for us to find out the largest or second largest or smallest number. So we can easily find out the second largest number by sorting it. So we have a function called sort. So it works as L dot sort, no parameter is there. So L dot sort, this function, this statement will sort the list L. Then after sorting, we can print the, no need of printing the whole list, we just need the second largest element. So second largest element means in a list, the largest element, sorted list, largest element will be at index -1, and the second largest value element will be at index -2, third largest -3. So we can easily find out the element at second minus index position -2, which is the second largest element. So we can print the second largest element is single quotes close. This thing will be printed as it is. Then comma, we need the value. So value, for what which we need the value, it is not, should not be enclosed in single quotes. So our name of the list L, then in square brackets the index. So index is -2. So what happens? The second largest element is printed as it is, and then in list L the value at index -2 will be printed. So this is how we can print the second largest or the largest element in a list. If we want to find out the largest element, so you can write here, instead of -2 you can write -1, L of -1. Or if you want to find out the smallest element, you can write in index 0. So at first position, that is at index 0, the smallest element will be there. Then the second smallest 1, largest -1, second largest -2. So this way you can find out the largest, smallest and second largest element. Next topic is, we have studied about the append method. Likewise, the another method is the extend method. The extend method adds one list at the end of the another list. So append method we have studied, which appends an element at the end of the another list. But extend method adds one list at the end of another list. One list at the end of another list. Append method adds one element at the end of another list, and extend method adds one list at the end of another list. In other words, all the items of a list are added at the end of an already created list. All the elements of a list are added at the end of the already created list. So the syntax of extend method is list1 dot extend list 2. List 1 dot extend list 2. Here what happens is all the elements of list 2 are added at the end of list 1. All the elements of list 2 are added at the end of list 1. So consider this example of extend function. We have list 1 containing elements 5, 3, 8, 6 and list 2 containing elements 12, 13. List 1 dot extend list 2 will add the elements of list 2 at the end of list 1. You can see here 5, 3, 8, 6. At the end of that 12 and 13 are added. Let us see another example. We have a list L1 is equal to 100, 200, 300, 400 and another list L2 is equal to 10, 20, 30. Now L1 dot extend L2 will add the elements of list L2 at the end of list L1. So let us see how this list extend and append function works. We can create a list M, giving just a name of a list. M is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. Another list N is equal to, in square brackets, 8, 9, 10. So you can see here two lists are there, M and N. Now let us apply append and extend function on these two lists. So when we apply extend function ex, so M dot exte and the extend in bracket N. Let us see what is the output. Print M. So you can see the output is 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the first list, and after the first elements of the first list, the elements of the second list are also added. Now let us see, if instead of extend, if we write append. Here we are appending M dot append N, that is we are applying append function on these two lists. Now you can see, by using append function, an element is appended at the end of the list. That element is a list. You can see here 1, 2, 3, 4. After 4 there is a list. That list is an element. So in this list only 5 elements are there. You can see only 5 elements are there in this list. The elements are 1, 2, 3, 4 and again a list containing elements 8, 9, 10. That is, in append function, what happens? An element is added, and in extend function a list is added at the end of the list. So again we can write M dot extend m dot extend of n print m. So you can see the difference. Here again. So here you can see when the difference when append and extend function are applied. So first one is an append function when the append function is applied on these two lists, and the second one is when extend function is applied. In the append function you can see a list is appended, that is the list is considered as an element, that is 8, 9, 10, a list containing 8, 9, 10 is appended at the end of first list. But in case of second one, using extend function, the elements of the list are appended. Here in first one, the list as it is appended at the end of the list. But in case of extend function, the elements of that list are added. So let us see the length of this len of m. Here also we can see length of m. Print. Print. Okay, let us see. So you can see the length of the first one is what? 5 elements, because the other one is a list containing 3 elements. So first list contains only 5 elements, and the second list, that is obtained by extend function, contains 7 elements. Okay children, you understood about the extend and append function. The next functions you will study in the next class. Thank you children.